Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Class starts in about 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, so just here a little early, and we'll go through some more of these practice problems on symbolization today to get really good at that and build up our ability on translating statements from English to SL. And then that'll take us through to the weekend, and we'll be good to go until next week's lesson. Could have said TN. Okay, I guess that we could go. Questions for me? I know it's so, or if everything's all right. And just tell me in the chat, like, all good. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing good. Hi, guys. Hello. Good to see you. Stephanie, Valeria, Amaya, Tronreb. Good to see you guys. I love it. Hey, Leo. Hey, Marissa. Good to see you, too. Just a few more minutes, and then we'll get our meeting going. Hey, Rachel. Arlene, good to see you. As you guys can see, Peachy's just chilling. So it's just kind of like maybe going to have to be put in the other room. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get to be too disruptive. Hi, Jessica, Jamie. Leia, April. It's too cute. It's just. Okay. So yeah, anybody here? Just see a lot of you guys saying hi. Good to see everybody. Hi, Nathaniel. Good morning, Natalie. Okay. Hey, Kimberly. Good to see you too. All right, everyone. So welcome back to class. It's 11:30, so I'm going to go ahead and let us get started. Thanks for everyone's attendance and all of your hard work so far during the semester. Let me make sure to check in with you guys on a question. Have you guys noticed my delivery of the second homework problem set? I sent that out, I believe, yesterday morning. Anyone can tell me if you got it. That would be great. Yes? Okay, awesome. So that means that everybody received it. That's the second homework problem set. It's all just translations and symbolization from English to SL. So the kind of practice problems that we're doing in class this week, where we transfer and convert statements from everyday spoken and written English into our technical symbolism of sentential logic, that'll help you guys with the homework. And I believe, yes, the due date for the homework is not next Monday, but the Monday that follows after that. So that would be the, forget the date, but anyway, it's the Monday of the next following week. So just keep that in mind. As before, when we get to the due date, you can send it to me. You can send it to me anytime before, whenever you're ready. But it'll be as an email attachment. You'll just simply send your file, which contains all of your answers for the different questions. It's worth 100 points, just like the first homework was. And when it's all done, you'll get the answer key, and any individual student could ask for a grade check. Yeah, has the homework problem been posted? Yes, that's what I'm saying, Isaiah. So you would want to go and look at the class announcements or your emails. And if you're following and keeping up on your emails, you'll see it. But yes, it has been sent. And it's not due until 12 days from now. So you still have plenty of time to work on it. Okay then, so that means that what we're going to do to fill the remainder of today is I want us to do more practice problems on translation stuff. The syllabus takes us into chapter 3. Per the syllabus, we would start looking at chapter 3 today. But I don't want to move too fast. I want to make sure that we spend adequate time, ample time, on the translation and symbolization stuff, especially because it has to do with your next homework. So I want to devote today's meeting to additional practice problems from chapter 2, the translation stuff. And then when we return on Monday after the weekend, we will all dive into chapter 3, which has to do with truth tables. Okay, so that's our plan for the meeting here. Let me then go back to the practice problems. So I, as have been sort of doing a few times lately, establishing a Zoom link so that we can use both platforms. The reason that I want to do that is because I think that it's easiest to keep an archived lecture from YouTube in a permanent archive like this, so that you guys have the ability at your convenience to go back whenever and view the live stream of the lecture. But I'm also willing to incorporate the Zoom so that we can share screen and look at the textbook together. So that's what I'm going to do. I've already created the link. I'm going to put the link here in the chat, and I'm going to have both platforms continue to run. So you can watch it on YouTube live later. Any student that arrives a little late to the meeting will still have this active stream going. And then I'll be showing you guys some of the practice problems on Zoom, and we'll put them on the board as well. Okay, so just give me 1 second while I pull up this link. Okay, so yes, here is a Zoom link. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up meeting on my end. And that way I can share the screen. So you guys go ahead and click the link, and we'll take you to Zoom and start trying to go through more of those practice problems that we saw. So I would ask, maybe for now, because there's going to be a delay with the mic, that you mute your mic. Otherwise, it's going to play back my audio from about 15 seconds before or 10 seconds before. Okay, guys, good. I see that you're here. So I'm going to share the screen. Yes, okay. Screen sharing. My bad. Trying to pull the chat up as usual. So if any questions arise, we'll see them here. Okay, now to get the book up on the page. All right, so where we were last time, if you guys are able to see, is we were working through 2.3 section 1, and we did most all of these problems. So let's resume, and we'll go over the problems, or at least many of them, in 2.3.2. So this little section, A through J right here. Okay, so first thing I guess is we have to create a symbolization key, and one symbolization key will function fine for all of the examples that are here. So let's go ahead and start designating some sentence letters. And this is the exact kind of thing that you'll do with the homework problems that you've been given. In the homework problem set, for every question, you have to start by designating the sentence letters and creating what's called a symbolization key. Then the symbolization key, together with the connectives, are used to restate the arguments and sentences in the SL logical language. So concerning questions A through J, let's just have a couple of the possible sentence letters designated. So go ahead and tell me some sentence letters in this chat, or however you prefer. You can use the mic. I'm sure that it won't create too much disturbance when I'm not talking too much. Okay, so G for George will graduate with honors. Okay, so that's the letter G, but we need more, because as you see, there's other names. E, Emily will graduate with honors. And so when creating a symbolization key, this is the way that you do it. You designate the letter, it's capitalized. You have a colon, and then to the right of the colon, you write the whole sentence that the letter stands for. Okay, so we have G for George will graduate with honors. E for Emily will. What else? Is there another, there's a couple of other names. So let's get those guys in there. Who else? D, Donna will graduate with honors. And F, Fred will graduate with honors. I'm just going to put this to signify that it's the same. Ah. Oh my goodness. Okay, she's going to the next room. Say goodbye to Peach. She wants. Sorry, girl. Yeah. She just can't sit still. But anyway, she's a good cat. F, Fred will graduate with honors. So let me see here. Does that give everything? Yeah, we've got George, Emily, Donna, and Fred. Now there's a random reference to Bob in just one of the questions. I don't know if that's like intended as a type. I feel like that's a typographical error. So maybe we'll just omit reference to D, since it's the only one that makes any reference to this random person named Bob. Okay, so starting off with letter A, easy enough. It says either George or Emily will graduate with honors. Either George or Emily will. So what would that be? Question A. We see here we got G, E, D, and F for our sentence letters. Since I created a symbolization key, I'll just put it here. So for problem A, what do you think? Either George or Emily will graduate with honors. Who could tell me the correct answer for that one symbolization? I'm looking here at this problem, 2A. So, simple enough. Either George or Emily will graduate with honors. How does this get written in SL? It's a yes. Well, okay, good. Thank you. It's G or E. Since G stands for George will graduate with honors and E stands for Emily will, the wedge symbol here just means either G or E. Okay, good. So that's A. Moving on quickly to B. B, both George and Emily will graduate with honors, or neither will. So they both will, or neither one will. What do you think is the correct answer for letter B? Both will graduate with honors, or neither will? Let's see. What do you have? So we have to start with the statement that both will graduate with honors. Both George and Emily. So that's easy enough. How does that begin? G and E. Okay, good. I'm using the caret instead of the ampersand, but both are fine. Okay. So G and E starts this sentence out. It says both will or neither will. So what is next? The statement or. Now, to say that neither will, how is neither will? Actually, Frida, it's not quite that, because what you have to the right of the wedge says tilde parentheses G and E. And what that means is not both will. It's a little different to say that neither will. Right, exactly, Lily. So that's the correct symbol. We would have it this way. Or neither one, so G or E. And there you have it. So either both of them are going to graduate with honors, which is this expression, the conjunction of G and E. So it's either this conjunction or this negation of the disjunction. So it's either that they both will or not the case that either one will. All right, good. And also, as we've said before, this can be logically converted into a conjunction where the conjunction says not the case that each one. So like this is a substitute that also works for the expression that is written here. In this case, I've used ampersand just to show you a different look. Okay, so practice problems galore. We just continue through, okay? So at least one of George, Emily, Donna, and Fred will graduate with honors. So at least one will graduate with honors. How do you think that is going to be stated in logical parlance? What does it really mean that at least one will graduate? It means that either this one, or that one, or the other one, or the other one. So it's a disjunction with four names. But we have to make sure that we group it in parentheses so that we don't have any undefined expressions. So how do you think that particular formula will be written out? You're going to have C, that's the name number of the example. At least one will graduate with honors. So it's going to be basically G or E or D or F. But we cannot have it look like that on the page. We can't have it look like that on the page because it's now not clear what is disjoined to what. Does this disjunction symbol group these two letters to the left and right? Or does this disjunction symbol group everything to the left with this on the right? So basically, we just have to use parentheses to bracket it properly. So what can be done in order for that to happen? It's going to basically be like this. Either this disjunction or this disjunction. You see? So we have to make sure that the connective that's in the middle displays that the terms on its left and right are the two formula that are connected by that connective. Okay, so a long disjunction. Let's go ahead then and close this part of the practice problems by jumping ahead over here to J. Okay? So look at J. What it says is that if Emily and Donna don't both graduate with honors, then neither George or Fred will graduate with honors. So what's this expression? What's the main connective of this expression? The main connective, the thing that's connecting all the different subsentential expressions together. It is an if-then, that's right. It's the arrow or the horseshoe. So what is the antecedent of the big conditional? What is the if clause of this hypothetical? It's the statement which says, Emily and Donna don't both graduate with honors. Okay, so how can I say Emily and Donna don't both graduate with honors? They don't both graduate with honors. What do you think? We are looking at letter J. They don't both graduate with honors, so you see that the names Emily and Donna are being referred to. Not the case that both, exactly, Frida. So we have a tilde, which negates, and it's saying not the case that both the names are Emily and Donna will graduate with honors. But it says if this, if Emily and Donna don't both graduate with honors, then, so here we have the arrow, then what? What is the consequent of the conditional? The consequence says, if they don't both graduate with honors, then neither George or Fred will graduate with honors. So neither George or Fred, exactly, tilde, G, or F. So looking at this expression, it's the symbolization for J. If Emily and Donna don't both graduate with honors, which is this, not the case that E and D, so it's not the case that both E and D. If not the case both E and D, then not the case that either G or F. In other words, neither George nor Fred will graduate with honors. Okay, good. So that's just a little bit of help on problem set 2 right there. Now I want us to try our best to translate an actual argument from the SL language back, from English back to the SL language. So I want us to take a quick look here at problem set 2.3.6. Okay. And as always, let me know if you have questions, comments, or anything that you'd like me to repeat or go over again. But let's go over these problems here. So there's 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, each one of the 5 is a full argument. And in your homework set, there is, I believe, a couple problems, where it's not one sentence that is being translated, but rather a full argument. To this point, we've only translated individual sentences. That's why it's just one line. But when you translate an argument, there are multiple sentences within the argument. There's the conclusion, and you'll find what the conclusion is by looking for the conclusion indicator word in the original written passage. So identify the conclusion, and the conclusion is going to be symbolized on one line on the bottom. And then each premise is a different individual sentence in the written passage, and they're going to be numbered and listed above the conclusion. So let's go ahead and take a quick look then at problem set 2.3.6 and try and translate these examples. Okay, so starting with question A. The first step of doing this and any translation is to everybody get involved, all right? Let's not have a few students doing all the heavy lifting. Let's all get involved. So tell me when it comes to question A, you see the question. Let's get some of these different sentence letters put on the board. So help me start by writing a sentence letter and then what it's standing for in English. So like, capital letter, colon, and then the statement that you want it to stand for. So Leonard, F, for Fred will go to New York. Okay, good. Okay, that's not the whole thing, that's one part, but we're getting started, good. So we also need something that stands for the information that Fred can get a first-class air ticket. What about that? First-class air ticket. Fred can get a first-class air ticket. We've used F. Okay, good, Valeria. So let's go with H. he can get a first class. Fred can get a first class air ticket. Although I'll say H is a little odd because the word he is a personal pronoun, but it wouldn't be a complete sentence unless it referred to the other. But that's okay. What T you suggest then, Leonard, for a ticket? Maybe so. I just want it to be easy for us to kind of have a memory. So let's use T then, perhaps. Fred, and it says, can get a first class air ticket. All right, good. So there's also tickets to a Yankee game. Fred can get tickets to a Yankee game. Why? Fred can get tickets to a Yankee game. Good. Okay, Fred can get tickets to a Yankee game. That's letter Y. So we still have a few more pieces, though. There's also Fred will go to Chicago, which we don't have yet. So we still need to get that in there. C, Fred will go to Chicago. I'm just going through it line by line from the beginning to the end. I'm sorry, someone in there's playing Taylor Swift or something. If you could just maybe mute the microphone. Okay, so next up, after Fred will go to Chicago, we've got, he can travel by train. And so travel by train. That one, I guess we've used T, so T's been taken, but that's all right. A, he'll travel by train. Okay, so let's see is what's remaining. Travel by train, tickets to the White Sox game, we need that one. So who got tickets to the White Sox? W. Okay, thanks, Ethan. So W, Fred gets tickets to the White Sox. Got tickets to the White Sox. That's our letter W. Okay. Okay, cool. So we have all of our letters now. So at this point, F, T, Y, C, A, W are going to be the letters used to translate the full argument into the logical equivalent of it. So we're going to go with, first of all, let's designate the conclusion at the bottom. Okay, so what's the conclusion of the argument? Who can tell me what statement in this passage A is the actual conclusion of the whole thing? The conclusion of the argument that's written is the statement which says what? Let's see who can get this one for me. The conclusion of question A. You remember conclusion indicator words, everybody? They're words like therefore, so, consequently, it follows that. Words like those indicate where the conclusion of the argument is. So what is the conclusion of A, of letter problem A? Well, that's the conclusion indicator word, but what is the sentence that is the conclusion? He won't go to either Chicago or New York. Good. So that's going to be the bottom line of the argument. What I'm going to do here, because now we've seen the full key, is we're just going to have these letters here to the left, and I'm going to erase it so I can write the answer up here. And I'm just going to have to remember that this is by train. This is New York. This is first class. This is tickets to Yankees. This is to Chicago. And this one is tickets to White Sox. Now I'm going to erase this part. Having created the symbolization key and exposed all the detail of that, we can go ahead and do the translation itself. All right, so the conclusion, as we know, is the bottom line, and that's the line that says he will not go to either New York or Chicago. So how does he won't go to either New York or Chicago get symbolized in our language? What's the symbolic equivalent of the English statement? He won't go to either New York or Chicago. Okay, so that gets written down. Just tell me the symbolism from left to right. Tilde F. Well, no, Leonard. You're, again, the distinction between not both and not either has to be observed. So if you're saying not the case that either, then either has to be what is negated, exactly. So that is tilde F or C. That's the conclusion of the argument. It says it is not the case that either he'll go to New York or Chicago. Okay? Now, tell me what's the first premise then of the argument? Going back to the beginning. Fred will go to New York only if he can get a first-class air ticket and get tickets to a Yankees game. So let's say that's our first premise. How does that one get symbolized? The statement that begins the whole passage. He'll go to New York only if he can get a first-class air ticket and get tickets to a Yankees game. So let's see what you come up with. And if I need to, I'll give you the corrections. And if it's correct, I'll make sure to double it with an exclamation. So Leonard, no, that's not correct. That's a conjunction what you wrote. That just says that he will go to New York and he will get tickets to a Yankees game. But it doesn't say that he will. It's an if-then, correct, Dran. So if-then is the main connective of that statement. So it requires the arrow. It says he'll go to New York, Fred will, only if, arrow points to the next part, only if he can get a first-class air ticket and get tickets to a Yankees game. So if F, then both T and Y. Exactly. All right, but that's not the full argument yet. There's more to say. So the next statement, Fred will go to Chicago only if he can travel by train and get tickets to a White Sox game. So we have another if-then. But this one says, if Chicago, then travel by train and tickets to White Sox. So C, arrow, A, and W. Good. Exactly. Okay? Now keep one thing in mind, everybody. Because it says only if, you have to remember that that means that you're going to read the thing to the right of that as the consequent, the thing that is to the right of the arrow. But if it said just the word if, without the term only attached to it, then whatever follows the word if would be treated as the antecedent. Okay, just a little reminder. To the remainder of the argument, it says he can't get a first-class air ticket, and he can't get tickets to a White Sox game. So, how to put those things on the board. He can't get tickets to a White Sox game. No, he can't get a first-class air ticket, and he can't get tickets to a White Sox game. So how do I say those two things on this board? He can't get the tickets. Well, he can't get the air ticket, and he can't get tickets to the White Sox. Let's see. Well, Leonard, no, because what you have is the words not both, but this is both not. So close, but not exactly. What do you think is the right way to say it? Also wrong, Leo, because that says not either. And this is not, this is both not. Both not. So, somewhat likely Frida, yes. Not T and also not W. Okay, that says it's both the case that he can't get first-class tickets, also he can't get tickets to the White Sox. Not T, also not W. Leo, the thing that you wrote first, not T and W, that means that he won't do both, but he might do one, right? Like if I say Trump and Biden won't both win, I'm not saying that Trump won't win and Biden won't win. I'm saying they won't both win. That's a difference. Negating a conjunction means it's not both. But saying both are not is a different statement. So to say Biden and Trump will both not win, like suppose they both died before the election or something crazy, then in that case, it would be tilde T and tilde B. But if you're trying to say like the normal case where they will not both win because there's only going to be one victorious candidate, that would be like tilde outside of parentheses, and internal to the parentheses is the conjunction that both T and B. Okay, So just have to mirror the logic of the written passage. This says he can't get a first-class air ticket. Also, he can't get tickets to a White Sox game. So it's not saying that he can't do both, but that both things are things that he can't do. Why wouldn't premise 2 be this? So I've received a question asking, why is it that premise 2 is a single arrow rather than the double arrow? The reason for that is because it does not say if and only if. So don't confuse the words if and only if with the simple expression only if. Only if is different from if and only if. When it says if and only if, then correct, it would be double arrow. But when it doesn't say if and in the beginning, then it's not a biconditional. In that case, it is a regular arrow. Okay, yeah. So, good. That question A, it's sort of like some of the questions in your homework problem set. Some of the problems there are also arguments, and when you do translate them, you'll create a symbolization key, you'll write the full argument out, and you'll do it in standard form. Don't ever forget that you have to write it in standard form, which means that the conclusion is specifically at the bottom, and there's a line above it, and then we have the premises listed above that line, and you can number them. Okay, so just make sure that you adhere to that and you'll be good on the homework. But that's only one problem, so let's go to another. Okay. So, Lily, you question, is not either the same as both not? It is. Yes, Lily, that is correct. Those two statements are equivalent. So this is equal to this. Those are logically equivalent statements, yes. If I say neither, I do not have an apple, nor do I have a banana in my lunch bag. That's saying that to the statement that I either have an apple or a banana, that's just false. It is not the case that I have either. That's the same information given as saying both I do not have an apple and also I do not have a banana. So you could say that same information two ways. You could list each thing that you don't have, or you could negate that you have either, and they are equivalent, yes. And in a private question, a student has asked, if the antecedent follows the word if, wouldn't the first premise be that T and Y is to the left? Yeah, but no, the thing is, you're forgetting that when only is placed before the word if, then we do not reverse the order of antecedent and consequent. So in case the word if were written there, you'd be correct. But because it says only if, we read it from left to right. Only if is distinct from if. Thank you. Okay, good. So let us move on and try to do, I don't know, let's see. Let's try letter problem C, okay? So the first step, as before, is we're going to generate the symbolization key, okay? So help me out with letter problem C and getting the symbolization key going. So where can we start on that? Let me read the whole thing. It says, Alice will go to Vienna if, but only if, Bert is willing to go with her, and Bert speaks German. Okay, so you've got, I see, good. A for Alice will go to Vienna. Okay, we also need more, so we need something that says Bert is willing to go with her. B. Okay, G, I see Ethan is for Bert speaks German. Okay, good. All right, and Isaiah, you're giving us O for Vienna takes the Orient Express to Istanbul. Wait, no, Vienna's the city. Alice is the person, so Alice will take the Orient Express. Yeah, that's the letter O. Orient Express to Istanbul. Okay, so is anything else needed? Okay, yeah, so we need one for the statement about Bert traveling by train. What do you say on that? Bert travels by train. I guess I could judge that you're probably going to give me a certain letter. T. Okay, good. Well, Stephanie, now I wanted to clarify that. We can't say won't travel by train in the symbolization key. Do you know why? Because it has to be the affirmative version of a statement, because when it is negated, that's going to be signified by means of the tilde. And the tilde does not appear in the symbolization key. So everyone needs to know that when you write the symbolization key, your sentence always has to be the positive affirmative version of it. So like if the English passage says, I'm not happy, then you'd give the letter R, Richard is happy. And then that would be translated as tilde R to say that he is not. So anyway, the letter T will stand for that Bert will travel by train. And we'll symbolize later that it's negated. So, he won't travel by train. Okay, good. I think that's everything now. So, at this point, that is the last one we need, correct, Leo? Now we're going to go ahead and translate the whole thing, the whole argument. So first, let's find the conclusion. What is the conclusion of C? It's the statement that follows the word hence, okay? So what does it say? It says, if Alice goes to Vienna, she will not take the Orient Express to Istanbul. How do I get that? Providing these letters and connectives. How can I state the conclusion? Just go ahead and tell me the symbols. If Alice goes to Vienna, she will not take the Orient Express. A, then tilde O. Correct, yeah. So okay, that's the conclusion. You can tell because of the word hence that appears right before it. Hence, therefore, so, if Alice goes to Vienna, A, then in that case, not the case, that O, then not O, then she will not take Orient Express to Istanbul. But let's now get to the first premise. The first premise above will say that Alice will go to Vienna if, but only if, Bert is willing to go with her and Bert speaks German. So tell me how to get that statement written down. Andre, good. So you have it A, double arrow, B and G. Perfect, yes. Double arrow, B and G. Okay, that says she'll go to Vienna if, but only if. This is the double arrow because it says if, but only if and only if. Both the case. And if that person named Bert speaks German, because I guess she's intimidated to go to Vienna, not knowing anyone and not knowing how to speak German. So she'll go, but just in this case, just in case she's got Bert to go with her and he speaks some German. Now next, if she does go to Vienna, she'll take the Orient Express to Istanbul unless Bert refuses to travel by train. Okay, so let's try to remember the word, or the symbol rather, for unless. Does anyone remember? I know that that's one element of our lessons on translation that kind of went fast, and it's kind of mentioned almost in passing, but you guys good, exactly. Unless is symbolized by the or symbol, by the wedge. Good. Now, with that second premise, unless is the main connective. So what you're going to have to do is have, to the left of the wedge, the if-then statement that says, if she goes to Vienna, she'll take Orient Express. And then to the right of the disjunction, you're going to have, Bert refuses to travel by train. Okay? So let's get this whole unless statement written down. starting with the left part, that if Alice does go to Vienna, she will take the Orient Express. How does that one get written? So premise 2. A, then O. Okay, good. So if Alice does go, then she will take the Orient Express. Unless, now that's the or symbol, unless what? Unless Bert refuses to travel by train. So basically Bert will not travel by train, not T. Good. And then there's just this one additional premise, 3. It says, Bert is willing to go with Alice to Vienna and does speak German, but he won't travel by train. So that's a conjunction of 3 things. He's willing to go, doesn't speak German, also he won't travel by train. So what do you think is the right way to put down that third premise? Let's see someone come up with that. What we're saying in the third premise is he's willing to go, but he doesn't speak German, and also he won't travel by the train method. So we need those 3 parts of the statement to show up in this third premise. That we need to signify that he is willing to go, that he does not speak German, and also that he will not travel by train. I know it says, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Amaya. Misread it. I looked at a different part of that sentence. So please thank you for correcting me. I meant to say that it does say he is willing to go with Alice to Vienna, and he does speak German, but won't travel by train. Perfect. Thank you. Small oversight, my mistake. But yeah, tell me then how to write that out. He's willing to go, does speak German, but he won't go by train. B and G is part of it, yes, Evelyn, but the third part is also part of it, and that's that he won't go by train, so not the case that T. Exactly. So here we have B and G, and not the case that he'll travel by train. Then the full argument is written out. So that would be the answer for problem C in this problem set. Okay? So, practice makes perfect. I want you guys to be as comfortable as you can be with these translations. I know it's a type of activity and an exercise that you've probably never had to do or, encountered before you took a class like this. So I feel that the practice can only serve you well in preparing for your homework. Let's go on then and try another interesting problem. So let me skip up a bit here. I'll do 5A. This is also an argument, so that can be used as well. Okay, so at the top of our screen, you see here 5A. So let's just get the symbolization key first of all, and for all the different elements. I see Betty sees Casablanca. Okay, Betty sees Casablanca, that's letter C. We also need something that stands for Betty sees the third man. Okay, good, Leo, T. All right, so far so good. There's also information about Betty seeing Witness for the Prosecution and Lion in Winter. So we just need those 2 letters. Yeah, W for that film. It's called Witness for the Prosecution, okay. And then finally, L, sees Lion in Winter. A, C, T, W, L. Those are the 4 sentence letters that are needed. So let's see. Maybe we'll try going from top to bottom this time. So what's the first premise? the first premise of the argument. It's what statement? You could let me know the statement that it is, or if you really want to just, throw out the full translation, that's fair as well. So let's see. First premise, looking at A, 5A. Okay, so you've got if Betty sees Casablanca and the third man, so if both C and T, then in that case, not either W or L. And that's perfect. Exactly. Good. So if both of these things happen, C and T, then in that case, neither of these other two things are going to happen. Neither the case that W or L. And that's exactly correct. It says here, if she sees Casablanca and the third man, if she sees both, if both, then in that case, will not see either of these two. So neither, not either, witness for prosecution or lion and winner. Okay, good. So let's go on to that next premise. The next premise of the argument says she will see witness for the prosecution, but she won't see the lion in winter. She'll see witness, but she won't see lion. Well, what will that be? She sees witness, doesn't see lion in winter. Go ahead, everybody, not all at once. W and not L. Okay, good. Thanks, exactly. W and not L, that's the second premise. Now, from there, is it just two premises, I guess? Yeah, so we have our conclusion now. The word so is prefaces the statement, so we know that it is the conclusion. And what is the conclusion? It says that either she won't see Casablanca or she won't see third man. Either she won't see Casablanca or she won't see third man. What is that? Good, Leo. It's either not C or not T. Notice that this is a different statement from neither. It's not saying neither, it's saying either you won't see the one or you won't see the other. It's not the claim that the person will not see either one. And so you've gotten it correctly written there, Leonard. Either she won't see Casablanca, that's one of the possible disjuncts, or on the other hand, she might not see the third man. And so that's the argument fully transcribed in the case of 5A. That's a nice additional example for our practice problems. Let's see, after that, they'll talk more about concepts that we're not going to really review in the class. Let's take a second look then at some of the stuff here in 2.3.6. Okay. Let's try E. Under problem set 2.3.6. So 6E. To start off, let's get the sentence letters going. Okay, yeah, I see, Arlene, that you made a little group message for the chat. That's fine. Some, initiative will perhaps assist a little bit on some of the problems, but the main thing is that you should still turn your work individually as like independent work. But of course, it's fine to talk about the problems and to try and get the concepts on the same page. But yeah, so letter E, everyone. We just need some sentence letters. So, what do you think? You know what? I'm looking at E. I just feel like the wording of it is going to throw us off a little bit and be too confusing because it speaks in general about the concept of a good mystery. A good mystery has memorable characters. So I guess we'd be M. A good mystery has memorable characters. P. A good mystery has a plot that keeps reader in suspense. But the talking about having of those features by the mysteries is, I think, going to result in a confusing example for some of us. So let me actually rescind the request for E. And Instead, I'm looking at B. Okay, now B is kind of long, but that's okay. So let us just revise and take a look at this one. For B, we need to have sentence letters designated for a variety of possible vacation destinations of Lisa. So we need some stuff for, like, Lisa will go to Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Vancouver. And I guess in those 4 cases, they're cities, so it's easy enough to designate the letters by means of the city. So T, Lisa goes to Toronto, or vacations Toronto. Montreal, Quebec, Vancouver. Okay. So what do you think is next? Let me get some input from you as you look at question B here. I helped you get started with just TMQV for the Lisa going on vacation to those various cities. What else? It says afterwards, if she goes to Toronto, she'll visit University of Toronto. So I need some more letters to help fully reveal the logical translation of this. What then next? Concerning question B. Let me know. You, Lisa will visit University of Toronto. Okay, good. And if anybody sees what another letter is in, like, the next case, you can already have it ready for me in the chat, but I'm putting this here. Lisa will visit U of Toronto. If you're looking at the example, you'll see that next we see if she goes to Montreal, she'll get great French food. What do you think? F, Lisa will eat great French food. Okay, good. Okay, so she'll eat great French food if she goes to Montreal. If she goes to Quebec, she'll visit the Plains of Abraham. So I need something to stand for that. P, good. Okay, so she'll go to the Plains of Abraham. W, she'll go whale watching, and that is what she would do if she went to Vancouver. Okay, yeah, so W is whale watching. Okay, so those are all the letters that are needed to create the full translation now. So go ahead and tell me what will be the first premise of our argument here. How can we write out the first premise? You see the English original, letter B, and just starting at the beginning with where it starts. We have our letters and connectives, so that's all we need. Lisa goes on vacation. Ah, perfect. You know what? You're right. We do need that. Thank you. Good catch, Lily. So maybe G for go. Is that a good one? Everyone can agree? Thank you. Thank you very much. G will be for Lisa will go on vacation. Perfect. Yeah, so you couldn't have started to give the answer without that letter because it's the antecedent of the first premise conditional. Okay, so if she goes on vacation, then it will be to either of these 4 cities. That is our first premise. So just let's get that out there. If she goes on vacation, then she will go to either of those 4 places. So what is the logical translation of that? Okay, Lily, you have that if G, then in that case, either T or M, or either Q or V. Good, exactly. So over here, first premise that if she goes on vacation at all, then in that case, she's going to go to one of these different locations. And the bracketing has to be done correctly. So you did do it correctly. It's either T or Montreal M, or Vancouver, or the last place was Quebec. Well, you went in order Q first, so I'll just match yours. That is the first premise. It requires for there to be an outer bracketing to indicate that the entire big disjunction, which has 4 different items in it, is the consequent of the conditional which starts with here, G. It doesn't need to be brackets, correct, Leo? It could be just 2 sets of parentheses. I like to use brackets sometimes because the outermost bracing kind of looks like it contains it more or something, but it's just a visual cue. It doesn't change the logic of it. So it could be curved parentheses rather than angled brackets, yes. But as we go on through the argument, there's more information in it to translate. So we started with if Lisa goes on vacation, then she will either go to Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, or Vancouver. So second premise, if she goes to Toronto, she'll visit the University of Toronto. That one's not too bad. What do you think is the way of translating that? T, then U, exactly. T, arrow, U. If T, then U. If she goes to Toronto on vacation, then she'll visit the University of Toronto. No problem there. For the next premise, we have to have a statement that if she goes to Montreal, she will eat great French food. M, then F. Good. So if she goes to Montreal, she'll get great French food. What's next is the statement that if she goes to Quebec, then she'll visit the Plains of Abraham. How about that? Q, then P. Good. Q, arrow, P. Finally, well, I don't know if it's final actually, there might be more. It says, if she goes to Vancouver, she'll go whale watching, so V, if V, then in that case W. All right, so if she goes to Vancouver, she'll do whale watching. Now she won't visit the University of Toronto, she won't eat great French food, and she won't go whale watching. So what do you think on those? How do we say that or signify that within our translation? She will not do 3 things. Not going to go to the University of Toronto. Not eat great. So, not the case that T, and not the case that F, and also not the case that W. Perfect. That's what the 6th premise says. Not T and not F, also not W. So it's just taking the 3 things that she would have done and denying them. Tilde, no, she won't go, looking back at the example, visiting University of Toronto. Let's get the right letter though. Oops. What is the first letter there? Sorry, Leo, I just have to correct one thing. Everyone in your notes do the same. It's U, exactly. T stands for that she'll go to Toronto, but U stands for that she'll visit University of Toronto. So she will not go to the University of Toronto, and she will not eat great French food. Both of those things, and also she will not go whale watching. So then we get to our conclusion. What's the conclusion then? The conclusion that we see here written down is that if she goes on vacation, she'll visit the Plains of Abraham. G then P, exactly. Now, logically, I mean, it's making, I hope, coherent sense, this argument, because like if you just think about the English version of it, all it's saying is that if she does go to vacation, these are her 4 destinations that she's looking at. And depending on which one she goes to out of the 4, there's a specific activity in mind. Like if it's Toronto, it's visiting university. If it's Montreal, then it's, what does it stand for? Oh, French food. If it's Quebec, it's Plains of Abraham. And if it's Vancouver, then she'll go whale watching. So we see the results of going to the 4 cities that would happen. But in the 6th premise, it is said that here are 3 of those results that won't happen. Like, it won't be this, it won't be this, and it won't be this. So that means that if she goes vacationing, since she's not going to do any of these other activities, she'll end up going to the Plains of Abraham because the other things have been eliminated. 3 out of 4. The only one that remains is Plains of Abraham. Okay, yeah, so there you have yet another example of doing a translation from from English to the logical language SL. Let me quickly pull up the homework one time and put it on the table here so you can sort of see how it looks in comparison to all this. So logic homework 2. This is it. For those that have not yet opened it, I just sent it yesterday morning, but these are the problems. And it's just like the same kind of activity. So you see here, question 1, if Joan Davis, we're not going to do the answers right now as a big group, right? But like, I'm just telling you the sort of methodology of how to answer it. You see that this is an argument. It says if Joan Davis wins the Oscar, then Betty Davis will cry. If Betty Davis cries, then Elizabeth Taylor will take pity on her. Elizabeth Taylor won't take pity on Betty Davis, and so Joan Crawford will not win the Oscar. So just as we've been doing with today's practice problems, you're going to find, what is the conclusion of the argument. You're going to set down the symbolization key. You're going to designate capitalized sentence letters for each different statement that needs to receive one. And then you're going to use the sentence letters with the connectives to fully translate this. Now that one's an argument. Let's look at the instructions. It says translate the 10 examples below from English into the symbolic language of SL. You will make a symbolization key designating a capital letter for each sentence that you translate, and you will also use the 5 logical connectives that we have studied in class. Some of these examples are individual sentences and others are arguments. If the example is of an argument, then translate it in standard form, with each premise on a separate line, divided from the conclusion by a horizontal line. Each problem is worth 10 points. So like number 1 is an argument, because it has the word so and there's multiple sentences in it. But other than that, it's just 10 that's in our argument also. So the first and the last one are both arguments, and the other 8 examples are just individual sentences. So, if you've been tracking the lessons, kind of following the whole concept of how to do translations, then that shouldn't be, I think, too overwhelming or difficult. But as always, I will answer any questions along the way from students either in email or through office hours or in class meetings. Lily, yeah, you do not need to do the paraphrase thing. The textbook mentions how to be even more logically precise with informal English. Like if someone says, I'm not having fun, the logical paraphrase of that in English would be, it is not the case that I am having fun. And like to logically paraphrase a conjunction, you'd say it the same way every time, both this and that. So if I said like, Trump and Biden are both are running for office, then the logical English paraphrase would be both Trump is running for office and Biden is running for office. But I thought that to kind of require you to think a lot about doing the English paraphrases would just kind of detract from the main point. The main substance here is knowing how to get the translations converted from English into logic. So don't worry about the paraphrase. That is fine. Just create the symbolization key as we have done, and translate it into logic. Okay. So I think there's enough time to maybe do one more. But it's good. Today's practice has really taken us up through the more complex type of expressions that you might encounter in some of the different problems. And that's why I think it was essential to kind of reinforce that material so that you're going to now do your homework with a good amount of confidence and self-belief. Maybe we can do some individual sentences again, since we've done some arguments now. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at like F. Okay, so like I'm looking at 4F. Okay, so to for F, yeah, right here. All right, so Phil will see. Is that what I wanted to do? Oh, yeah, here we go. Thanks. Phil will see charade if and only if Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant are both in it, and they are. So let's get some sentence letters first off. What do you think when it comes to letter F? P, Phil will see charade. Okay, fine, that's good. Is that the best letter? Let me see it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so P, Phil will see charade. Okay, and also we need some more stuff because there's this information about Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant are in the movie. So what's next? More sentence letters, you get the symbolization key finished, and then we can quickly translate this one. So A, Audrey Hepburn is in charade. And then also we have to have, yeah, G, I'll use G for, or C perhaps, for Cary Grant is in charade. Okay, good. P, Phil sees charade. A, Audrey Hepburn's in it. C, Cary Grant is in it. So the sentence says that Phil will see this movie if and only if Hepburn and Grant are both in it, and they are. So what do you think? How to write this from left to right? So let's just, even if it takes maybe like an initial incorrect attempt to state it, let's see what you can come up with, and I'll correct anything if there's a mistake. So yeah, Phil will see charade if and only if Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant are both in it, and they are. Okay, so Valeria, you give a single arrow, but it's not the single arrow, because are we looking carefully at the wording? It says if and only if. So remembering if and only if is our double arrow biconditional. So we're going to have Phil will see this if and only if Hepburn and Grant are both in it. Oh no, it's okay. So Hepburn and Grant are both in it has to be mentioned, and that will be A, Hepburn, C, Grant is in it. So he'll see it if and only if they're both in it, and they are. So they are is going to be what expression? It will be, good Lily, that A and C. And that will be our correct answer. So it says two things. First of all, Phil's going to see this movie just only if and only if both of those, they are A and C. A stands for Hepburn is in it, C stands for Grant is in it. So he'll see it just in case they're both there, and they are both there. Okay, so the main connective of this particular expression was the conjunction symbol. And just by logical analysis of the English passage, you'll be able to determine that. So far so good. I mean, I'm just kind of hitting different examples, trying to make sure that they come through clearly. Maybe we'll just do one more of these quick little individual sentences because they're kind of bite-sized and they go fast, and then we'll close for today's meeting. So let me just do one more then. How about okay, so let's try H. For H. It says, if Claude Rains, Sidney Greenstreet, and Peter Lorre were in the movie Betty saw last night, then she saw Casablanca. So we need to have these different sentence letters that refer to the actors being in the movie that she saw last night. So there's Claude Rains, Sidney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre. I guess I'll just go with their first initial or their first name. So C is going to stand for something. Yeah, sorry. S is for another, and P is for another. What does C stand for? C stands for Claude Rains is in this movie that she saw. S is for, see, I don't know these old-time Hollywood actor names, so I got to keep looking back. Sydney Greenstreet. Is in it. P for, we're doing question 4H. If you look here on the problem set, I just have a question I received from a student asking me which problem it is. It's this one, 4H. Is that, hopefully you see? Okay, just check. Yes, thank you. So P is for Peter Lorre was in the movie she saw. Okay, and so then we also just need Betty saw Casablanca. Yeah? And so I'll just make that be B for Betty. All right, so now with those sentence letters, we can translate this example. What is M for there, Leonard? Not sure the reference of M, but maybe you're just saying movie, like, oh, I see what you meant. Like you wanted to indicate M for movie, like she saw Casablanca. But, all right, so yeah, if these three actors were in it, then she saw Casablanca. So the whole thing is an if-then. That's the main connective. But what's the if part of it? The if part of it is Claude Rains, Sydney Greenstreet, and Peter Lorre are in the movie. So if those three guys are in the movie, then the movie was Casablanca. So how do we get this if statement, which says Claude, Sydney, and Peter were in it? If that is true, then she saw Casablanca. The consequent of this one is easy, because it's just going to be to the right, the letter B for Betty saw Casablanca. So all the real work is the first half on the left. And good, Leonard. So the antecedent of this conditional is that if both C and S and P, then in that case, P. So, oh, sorry. C, N, S, and P, then B. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This says that if it is the case that Claude and Sydney and Peter Lorre is in the movie, that means then that she saw Casablanca, because those are the actors that are in that movie. The bracketing is needed because what we have here is a conjunction with three terms. But anytime you have a conjunction of three terms like this, you have to make sure that the connectives have a left and a right component in their binary. This is an undefined expression because we don't know if it stands for this or if it stands for this. So we kind of have to make it explicit by adding those parentheses. So since this is a conjunction with three terms, we group the first two in parentheses, and here's this to the right. But because the whole conjunction itself is itself the antecedent of a conditional, that requires us to group the entire expression within outer brackets. And our rule for parenthetical bracketing has been observed because there's two left-facing brackets or parentheses and two right-facing ones. The rule is that every time there's a left one introduced, there has to be a corresponding right one that closes it. So this closes the leftmost bracket, and this one closes the interior left bracket. Okay, so just more practice problems. Now that we've done those, I think that you should be in full control and at least on your way towards taking a look at the second homework problem set. And it's not due for 12 more days, so you've got some good time to develop your answers and to be sure you're good with it. But all right, guys, I guess we've reached the end. It's 12:45. Let me end the, first of all, Zoom stream, and then I'm going to close the YouTube meeting. I don't know if some of you are still over in the other meeting, but for Zoomers, have a great day. Thank you guys so much, and I'll be in touch with you if you need anything along the way. So I'm closing this one. And if there's anyone that's still over here looking at the YouTube video, let's see that we have 8 of you guys. Thanks again for this. You can always come back to our YouTube video for the archived lecture. Of course, you won't see this screen share and everything, but I've tried to make helpful reference to the question on the board, and that should help you a little bit too. Okay, guys, thanks again, and take it easy, and I'll see you soon.